webinars that provide information for those of you who are interested in knowing more about global climate governance and its relationship to agriculture. For the introduction, I will give the floor to Dr. Mohammed Ibrahim. He's the Technical Cooperation Director. Mr. Mohammed, you have the floor. Good day to you all. Good afternoon if you're in Rome. I would very much like to thank Katia Fajardo for organizing this event together with ICA and with the support of Marshall Bernou, who is a senior officer of the FAO and he's in charge of climate change. We will be talking about the global stock taking and its importance to agriculture. It is important to do a comprehensive analysis on the current situation and to understand the state of our planet in order to guide the actions being taken. Decision 19 CMA Point 1 states that the global stocktake shall be a party-driven process conducted in a transparent manner and with the participation of non-party stakeholders. In the framework of the objectives of the Paris Agreement, taking stock of the results of climate action is imperative to identify gaps and to work together to agree on feasible and effective actions. The first global stock taken was concluded at COP28 in Dubai. During COP28, the parties adopted a decision on global stock taken that recognizes the need to achieve deep, rapid, and sustained reductions in GHG emissions in line with pathways to preserve the 1.5 degrees centigrade global average temperature increase target compared to the pre-industrial era. It encourages parties to ensure that their next NDCs, that is the nationally determined contributions, have ambitious economy-wide emission reduction targets covering all GHG sectors and categories. In this context, identifying adaptation and emission reduction interventions continues to be important, not only to ensure that the agricultural sector is better reflected in country contributions, but also to give relevance and a sense of opportunity to improve understanding of extreme weather events, such as droughts and floods, which in the regions of the Americas determine the performance and scope of the regional agricultural sector. Nowadays, in Central America, there are many wildfires, and we need to see how that problem can affect the global stocktake. So, this event would like to identify opportunities and experiences for the best use of geospatial images in the monitoring and warning of extreme hydrometeorological events as part of disaster risk reduction management. I hope that this seminar will be extremely fruitful and there will be plenty of contributions to move forward with this topic. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for these welcome comments and for providing us context for today. Without further ado, let me give the floor to our expert today, Mr. Marshall Bernou. He is a senior FAO expert. He's got plenty of experience in climate change, biodiversity, and he's also been supporting the process related to NDCs and other alliances and strategic initiatives for FAO. So it is a pleasure to have you here, Marshall. Welcome to this session, this web seminar. Please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, unmute. So thanks, and thanks so much, and thanks so much for the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, and thanks for the introduction of Dr. Mohammed Ibrahim. It's really a pleasure to respond that invitation that I received from you, Katja, and Walter, and all colleagues that were in your name of cooperation, and this is what we are here basically trying to navigate that complex issues of agriculture, climate change, and trying to understand the process. But without further ado, I prepare some slide just to start the discussion. On Happy, you can interrupt me really anytime if you have a burning question or if you need a clarification. If not, Happy at the end also to have to respond to the question from the different participants and attendees. Let me share my screen. Should be. Now you should see all my screen. So moving my mouse. Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so basically, as you can see, the title is on focusing on the global stocktake, but you will see that when we mention the global stocktake, we have to navigate perhaps a little broader and also go to NDC, to reporting on other aspects that are under the convention. As it is, I am from FAO. After agriculture, I added for sure on the food security dimension. That is really a part of FAO mandate to ensure that food security for all. So let me start with that first slide that you can see every time I also give where I got the information. It's always good to use the best information or the best visual information that already provided by others. So you can see the GST within the Paris Agreement. It's part of a full cycle. So that responds to the main goal of the Paris Agreement that you have on part of one screen, where you have different aspects on both mitigation. This is with the goal of the Paris Agreement, 2 degrees and if possible 1.5 degrees C. The adaptation part that is the most important and the most pressing nowadays. Countries and farmers for agriculture are already experiencing disaster. In Latin America is also suffering a lot from flood, from nowadays El Nino, La Nina. So climate is already impacting, and adaptation is more than ever urgent. On finance, because we need also finance to implement the action that we need to adapt and also to have some co-benefits in terms of mitigation. But to respond to that, so countries have a full cycle. So basically, and I would just summarize here, but if you look the different step, you put what you can do as a country in terms of mitigation and what are your needs in terms of adaptation. And this is basically what we call the nationally determined contribution. And here the nationally is really extremely important. This is from the country themselves that say what they need. They are the only one that are also able to inform the world what are the specific circumstances they're facing. So then once you have your mitigation, adaptation, and need for finance in part of that, you need to show what you are doing, because it's good to have a target, but then the world will expect countries to bring some concrete element of what is being done in terms of mitigation, in terms of adaptation, and also finance received. So that's why you have what we call an transparency framework, to be completely transparent on what is happening, and also in terms of need and in terms of action. And then, based on that, you have a global stocktake to realize where we are, because it's a step-by-step approach. The nationally determined contribution are valid for every 5 years. So we might need to increase ambition. We can start slowly, but we have to increase ambition to meet the target of 2 or 1.5 degrees C. So that the global stocktake that we will talk more today is itself to know where we are on what has to be done for the next step. And then you increase your ambition and so on. But you imagine here we're at the beginning of this cycle, of this circle. So basically, the UNFCCC set a first global stock take to understand where we are. So trying to fill the process. And this is basically here's information you can see on sorry for some overlapping in terms of font. But basically, you have two different elements in that global stock take that was set. This is what we call the GST ICP, so information collection and preparation. So it started in November 2021 and it ended in June 2023. And then on top of that, you have also technical assessment. On a part of the technical assessment, you have technical dialogue. So it has to be, as it was reminded at the beginning by Dr. Ibrahim, a collaboration where all voices have to be also listened and we have to learn from the other. So you can see on the graphics the different kind of information. So you have information from parties, from science. IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, can provide the last update in terms of validated by science, what we have in terms of solution for mitigation, for adaptation, what would be the need in front of us. You have all the different bodies of the convention that also can provide the last information and also link with other ongoing track of discussion. The Secretariat will help providing synthesis. Other UN agency like my agency FAO providing also a relevant report on the sectoral activities, giving perhaps a more deep dive what we know for agriculture, for instance, or food security, and then all regional group like your organization providing also useful information to the world. On submission open most of the time to all stakeholders involved in that very complex process. So you see a variety really of information from a lot of different sources. FAO, we also contributed to that, and you have the link. I will share also the PowerPoint with the organizer. It's free to be further distributed, but FAO submitted as other observer views on the process, but we were also part of the technical dialogue on FAO, and that was responsible for one of the World Cafe Table on how do we transform the agricultural system, how we respond, on how we implement the needed action to transform our agriculture and food system all together. And on the report, and here you have the link of the report, but look only the four main bottlenecks that has always identified most of the time. You mentioned agriculture is availability of data. So this is something we have to work on it. Limited access to finance and investment, on all kind of finance and investment. Capacity. Countries are facing some challenges in terms of capacity building and resources available. On policy, we need to align the policies to enhance the policy or to build policies or to work to have alignment of different policies that are relevant for the climate change, not only climate change policies, but all kind of policies that are relevant for agriculture. And then, what was the outcome of that? So at last COP in Dubai, and you can see the link, and it was quite widely mentioned in the press. There was an outcome. Let's see if we can call it successful or not. But there was a very interesting outcome of the first global stock take. It was not an easy process. We can go back perhaps in the discussion. It's a 23-page document. But then the question we can have. So first, what is this document? What is mean for us, for people that does not understand? So that document is organized around 4 parts. So general context on consideration, and then collective. And the collective is here really important. Collective progress toward achieving the long-term goal of the Paris Agreement. This is the 2 degree C, but you see always in the light of equity, the best available science on informing party in updating and their nationally determined contribution in a nationally determined manner, action and support. So you see already the link with other aspect that GST is to serve. It's not just to have information. It's an information that we can build on to meet that target. There is a part on international cooperation because alone we cannot do much on guidance on the way forward. If you look the most important part is the second part, and you have here 5 sections on mitigation, adaptation, means of implementation and support, on loss and damage, on losses and damage, on response measures. So first question, we are here dealing with agriculture. What is the significance of that document for agriculture on food security? So here I put that picture, and I hope you will help me to answer to that. Are we completely satisfied? Is it a real full glass? Or is it basically an empty document for agriculture? Or is it half a glass? And let's see what we can look in a positive way, or perhaps in an absent way, saying, "Oh, we still have to build on that." If you look, so navigating on here, just extracting some part, I will not go to the 23 pages, but in the context, we can say, oh, we're happy. We can see recognizing the fundamental priority of safeguarding food security and ending hunger on the particular vulnerabilities of food production system. So it's food production system. We can go back to that, to the adverse impact of climate change. Well, it's excellent. It's good, but it's not new. This is exactly the sentence we have in the Paris Agreement. This is the same sentence we can see also in the Coroniva joint work on agriculture in the preamble, recognizing this aspect. So basically, it's an agreed sentence that, since the Paris Agreement is used anytime there is a discussion or a text relevant to food security or ending hunger and mentioning food production system. So here, it's good to have this, but we have to realize that is really not true. On the second part, also, it's using basically agreed terminology. And when you read UNFCCC text, as soon you have recognizing, basically it means that it has been already discussed and agreed. So it's agreed language. But now, if we look deeper on going to the adaptation section that is most relevant for agriculture, here we have a lot of words, but a lot of most important key words. And we can see it's mentioned integrated multi-sectoral solution. So there is a full recognition on land use management, on sustainable agriculture. Basically, there is an holistic recognition that it's difficult for agriculture. We cannot split in different solutions. Solutions have to be implemented at the end at scale, and then we have really to have that integrated vision and that multi-sector solution that need to be implemented. And then, I'm not reading here, you have the text, you can read. So no subsector is absent. So you have all forest, mountain, terrestrial, marine ecosystem. So all production system, which is for FAO quite relevant because this is our mandate. We work on all. When we say agriculture at FAO, it encompasses always grassland, aquaculture, fisheries, livestock, cropland, annual, pluriannual crops. So all the kind of productive system. You have also an interesting part, you have adaptation that can contribute to mitigate impact on losses. So there is already the connection that we will have to face some impact, and we need to really to put this as a high priority. And then you have other element that basically cross-cutting in all element, not only agriculture sector, that it has to be gender responsive, sensitive, take into account the specificity of the most vulnerable people, the science, community, local indigenous people knowledge that has to be considered. And then, but it's an encouragement. You can see it's not mandatory. We encourage countries to parties to do that. Then you can see there is we should also note some interesting approaches, ecosystem-based approaches. Resilience is more and more prominent in all documents. And we have to face to cope the risk. We will go back on that, but let's move now to navigating. And here, on the words are always carefully chosen when you have such a text. Here you have the urge parties, and it's really one of the strongest words you can have in such a text, that really highlighting that the process is perhaps delaying too much. So here we really need, if you read between the line, the most important part is accelerate swift action at scale and at all level from local to global. We are not moving fast enough. We are experiencing some delay on the process, as really to speed up and to move it from pilot to really larger scale implementation, if we want to achieve and to be in line with a target. And you have a specific part here. You have the part B that mention really the food and agricultural production. On if you look at that sentence, you have different aspects. It's not only production. You have also the access. You have also the distribution. You have the nutrition. So basically, it's a way to unpack the food security dimension, where you have the quantity, production, you have also the quality, the nutrition, but you have also the access to the access and the stability to that access. So as individual, we are not just eating one day every month. We need to have a stable access to nutritious food every day. So this it's really excellent that we have this in that text. In terms of mitigation, you can see here we don't have much on basically just focusing the most important point. There is a lot of halting and reversing deforestation and forest degradation, on also using sink on a reservoir of greenhouse gas. So this is an important also unique aspect of the agriculture sector in the broad sense, that basically it's all interconnected. So forest, agriculture are connected. If you want to expand agriculture, you might deforest and so on. So we have to consider that aspect. We have to consider also the biodiversity, but also the most important, that sector is the only one that can also sink efficiently some greenhouse gas at a cost that is also affordable for society. And then you have a lot of different texts. Some element here, non-carbon benefit. This is something we can have in the discussion. There is a tendency now to move the forest, the former red sector, into what we call Article 6.8, which is another aspect of the carbon market, but on a non-carbon. So recognition that ecosystem services, forest, agriculture provide much more than just carbon. On other element, this is my last slide on the GST. Agriculture is not just looking at keywords like agriculture, food, production. You have also in that GST some interesting elements that are relevant for agriculture. For instance, the state put on the international cooperation a roadmap for mission to 1.5. So that mission to 1.5 is still the most pressing mission that we need to have. And here we need really international cooperation on we need to stimulate the next round of NDCs. So we are trying to work on the circle. The NDC have really to be increased. And for that, we will have a new global stocktake dialogue starting SBs, trying to facilitate, ease the different exchange and to bring on the table all the different solutions we have for agriculture, but not only agriculture, for all sectors. So my conclusion of that, uh, I guess we are more on the half glass. This is my personal vision. Uh, we have to recognize that agriculture is part. It could have been out completely. In earlier draft, there was even no mention of agriculture in the text. In the last text, we have this, so it's important, but it's not a full glass. Still, we can do much more. All people working on agriculture might still desire to have more visibility and more recognition of the agriculture sector because it offers a lot of solution and we are not tapping yet the full potential. So this was the first part on the GST. Now looking at interlinkages between NDC, BTR, so Biennial Transparency Report. So this is the way countries will provide information on what they are doing as part of the Enhanced Transparency Framework, so ETF. So NDC, there's the policy, the BTR, the report to provide information to all in a transparent manner of what the countries did with NDC on the global stocktake. So if we look at the interlinkage, and I use that slide because I like quite much that presentation that connect all. You can see the NDC in the middle here of my reverse triangle. They are here, and they are central because this is what countries are telling to the world what they can do really. And they need to be informed, and they need to be informed by the global stocktake. So we have a first global stocktake that gives some kind of direction, perhaps not strong enough. It still urge party to take action. So perhaps I hope countries, parties will listen to that urgent call, but we need to track progress. On the ETF, so the BTR, will be used to track progress and to inform the next GST. So the next round of GST will be not only informed like the first part. So the first part we have seen GST1 have been a lot of submission, dialogue, exchange, what IPCC is saying. But for the next round of GST, we will have also all the different reports from all the different countries on reporting what they are implementing, what they are facing as a challenge. And then we need further decision how to increase and where eventually to put the focus. So all this you can see it's related. So but this is basically a nice summary here. And if you unfold that in terms of timeline, what to expect from SB60. So it's in 2 weeks time now, basically. We will have the June subsidiary body session in Bonn between two COP, an important momentum where you have all the parties and other stakeholders that will have a look at the start the first annual GST dialogue to prepare for next COP, where you have different important element at COP 29. This is where you should have the first reporting. So basically BTR that was mentioned earlier have to be with, let's say, specific circumstances for seeds on least developed countries, but most countries should report at COP29. So by 31st of December this year, parties have to report provide their BTR. And then COP30, basically, this is where we will have the second annual dialogue in between, but where we have to look at the new round of NDC. You might have heard already NDC 3.0. So this is sometimes a way to say that. So countries will have to put, they can start already, yeah, but they have to put by COP30 to have a meaningful discussion on decision. We need to have those NDCs ready in 2025 to pave the way for the next year. So it was basically what I wanted to share on the GST and interlinkages. We can go deeper with the question, but let me here perhaps have a clear statement. On that statement, I also presented quite recently a G20 meeting. It was discussing something similar. Under the lead of Brazil as for the G20 discussion. It was on strategies to foster adaptation on resilience of agri-food system. I started by that clear statement saying that we know, and we are ready to deploy most of the strategies to foster adaptation and resilience of agri-food system, but we are not implementing at scale. This is more or less the recognition of the GST, saying that we have to scale up, we have to speed up, we have to find more resources to do that. On the we know science, IPCC is telling us in terms of impact, adaptation, vulnerability, we have a full report of more than 1,500 pages. We have technical summaries. We have summary for policymakers. We can even do more summary of the summary specifically for adaptation in agri-food system. This is what FAO did with other colleagues. We can extract that in a more simple way. We can extract a simple table. We can summarize information, but we have the information that is summarized in that table. We know basically the adaptation strategies to be, or adaptation solutions to be put at scale. Diversity, managing water, breeds, changing management, managing fisheries or on a value chain approach. So we have all those solutions. And if we look even on the special report on land, so the IPCC has also a specific report lens on looking on land. And here we have, for instance, the impact of those adaptation solutions for agriculture, for forest, for soil, in terms of how many people they will serve, they will help people to build a more resilient food system. And you see, it's several billion of people. So if we implement this at scale, it's not just for 10 people, it's really for most of the world, most of the farmers, foresters, elders that are themselves the first one to suffer the impact of climate change. So if I'm back to my statement, why we are not implementing at scale? On three elements here, they are not the only one, but three that are really more prominent: finance and investment, metrics and tools, and policies. And here, it's presented in a wrong way. It's a list. In fact, it's an interaction. Sorry. We have to work on the policy. In the same time, we have to increase the metrics that will help to build the nice policies. So we need data metrics to implement the policies. But to implement the policies, we need also capacity buildings and after. And we need finance for implement the action that are recognized, decided in the policies, and also metrics and tool to monitor the effectiveness of the finance and investment. So, and this is where the difficulties are lying, that we cannot work in silo. And instead, on those three pillars, we have to find a way to address all together. And now if I look separately. So those three pillars, those three wheels, you can see here the green one on finance, the blue on policies, on the brown on metrics. So just one slide per wheel. On finance investment, what we have in terms of information that on, let's focus on that share. This is here the climate related development finance. So it's one kind of finance. It's basically multilateral donor, development banks flow plus bilateral flow is decreasing. So while that dark green here is increasing, this is the total of climate related development finance is increasing. The yellow part for agriculture, you can see, is increasing, but not increases as much. And as a result, you have less and less fund going to agriculture. So on agri-food sector. So this is the message. Other like climate policy initiative providing other numbers, the scope is different, but the story is always the same. Agriculture is not receiving enough, and agriculture is receiving less and less. So this is something that we have to urgently address. If you want to have the last information, we have here online data, and this is a publication. On the metric and tools, we also have some. We have some guidance that have been proposed. We have some tool like here the ABC map that provide also respond to that holistic demand to not only look at mitigation or adaptation, but look also on synergies with other SDGs, other co-benefits. So for instance, on agriculture, we have here, for instance, a toolkit that have been launched at the COP28 to support the immediate declaration on food system that have been signed up by more than 150 countries. So some tools are already existing. They can be improved, but we have already some tools. But this is something that we need more. We need more capacity building. This is clear. So this is not only having the tool, it's how to use those tools, how to have enough people on trained to use those tools wisely to help those people to respond to the requests that they have from their government to help in either build policies, track action, track progress, or track finance. On the enhanced policy part, and it's quite complex, complete and complex here, just for you to basically stay tuned, FAO, we are analyzing regularly where agriculture and agri-food is in the different NDC put forward by countries. And just here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 part. The first one is when you look at the NDC, what they're telling us. This is what countries are saying. So countries are saying what hazards are driving adaptation in agri-food system, floods, drought, land degradation. With that, we have already more than half of the hazard identified by countries. And we have also sea level rise, pest and disease, soil salinization, and other. But really, what the countries are saying, we need help, we need support, we need to adapt to those major hazards. When they mention agri-food system, they recognize, this is what parties are saying, that it's important for look at vulnerable people, mostly focusing on women, indigenous people, and other vulnerable communities like youth, disabled people. But you see here, I would like to see 100%. For the moment, still it's like the glass half full, half empty. We are more on the half empty side. That is more evident. Still, NDC are not recognizing enough in terms of adaptation the specific needs and the impact of climate change on those different communities. Then, when we look also in terms of how adaptation, for instance, is mentioned, reported on which subsector countries are focusing in terms of adaptation for agri-food system as a whole, you see the focus is still a lot on 88% of the NDC on forestry or post-harvest loss, for instance. But we can do more. So we can argue and work all together to ensure that policies are more and more considering crop, livestock. So here we have a margin for improvement to reach 100% of NDCs, recognizing that we have to to work on adaptation for crop. So, but it's interesting to see where challenges are already quite well identified, but where we can improve. And this is basically where altogether we have to improve on the annual on livestock, and also some other connection with also for biodiversity, for instance. Most of those NDCs have been done before the COP15 on the Cumming-Morrell Global Biodiversity Framework, the GBF. But I hope that more for next round of NDC, we'll see more biodiversity co-benefits put forward in the different documents. Back again to my statement, and I'm ending to moving to the end of that presentation. Perhaps an important element on that little farmer here. This is the most important, but it looks like quite invisible in that complete landscape. What he's telling us, I did a solution, and perhaps I should have put, I need one solution, please. And you have different silo, adaptation silo, mitigation silo, biodiversity silo, land degradation silo, having a very complex, not wrong, but very complex and sometimes difficult to understand, and sometimes not fully overlapping. The farmers, he needs just one solution for him, for his family, for his system. So he needs a solution for a resilient system. So this is where basically we should recognize that it's complex, but we should bring clarity in that complexity, and we should identify no regret option that can combine mitigation, adaptation, mitigation. It depends on the country, on biodiversity, on water access, on health, on all those different important elements, on the food security, which remain the most important for all of us. So collective challenge require collective solution. I am putting here some families. Some people here today might recognize themselves. So you have different families. The negotiator family, the COP presidency, bringing and supporting the process, political group like the G20, partnership broad from parties to non-state actors trying to support. And I'm putting a but. It's good to have all those different support, but if you look here, and we started to look to map all the different initiative, alliance, coalition, declaration, fora, policies, dialogue, mentioning agriculture, climate change, or claiming working on agriculture, climate change adaptation, or mitigation, on access to finance. And you can see, I would say, the less we have finance to agriculture, the more we have initiatives, and with nearly half of them in the last 3 years. So this is why at FAO and with other, and ICA is part of that. We try to bring some clarity on. It's not to say that we should delete, suppress, but we should look the ways we can have synergies and efficiency to scale up. This is basically what we should do. We are all doing a fantastic job, but we need to put forces together. We need really to collaborate, all of us, to look on how we can add the best value of one initiative in relation to another, to tap one aspect, or eventually to identify area of action where no one is working. On those three pillars I was mentioning: finance, data, knowledge, capacity, tool, and policy, on dialogue. On COP29 in Baku, so stay tuned. The COP presidency will present in Bonn. I have already some calendar, some initiative, or at least some harmonies they want to bring into the system to align or to ask those different group coalition to share, to at least to sit first all together and to discuss and to see what we can do to improve our response. So ending with a clear statement here that's a little bit different. The last part, we can all together. And this is all together. And with you guys, this is why you have your logo. You are bringing an important contribution to that. We need you. You need your voice. You're already part of FAST, but we really need to all together to look, identify what we can do even better. So I will stop here. I hope I've not been too long. I'm happy to respond to any question. Let me stop sharing my
Muchísimas
screen.
gracias a Marcial Bernot por esta presentación.
Thank you so much, Marshall. This was a very rich presentation with many elements that leave us thinking. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Walter Oyarzabal. He is a renowned expert in the region on these topics. He's an advisor to our program, and he has some questions. And I will read two questions that I have from Costa Rica. If you have any other questions, please let me know, and I will appreciate any comments that you may have. So, this seminar is being recorded. It'll be distributed later, and you will receive the recording of this webinar. I have two questions. One, it says, how do you get the recommendations of the analysis of the global report, and how do you get those to other sectors that are not, for example, the agricultural sector, and whether the recommendations of these analyses are being considered at in any region to prepare the new NDCs. The other question is, thank you for your presentation. It said that 21% of small agricultures include adaptation to agri-food systems. In your opinion, what are your recommendations, in your opinion, to increase this percentage? These are my two questions that I received for you, Marshall and Walter. Thank you. Thank you very much, Katia. Thank you. First of all, I would like to congratulate Marshall for such a complete presentation on a topic that can be addressed in so many different ways. This was not an easy task to summarize the global stocktake and its results and its outcomes, and to place agriculture within that presentation. So thank you for that, and congratulations. Second, if we consider the fact that the Paris Agreement has three objectives or targets, although the temperature target is the one that is most known, and of course I understand that this is extremely relevant, sometimes we need to understand that the second goal of the Paris Agreement has to do with increasing adaptation, preserving food production, and the third goal is related to financial flows. It says that they should correspond to the size and the magnitude of the climate challenges as per the Paris Agreement. With regards to this, Marshall, I am concerned about the fact that the FAO studies on the evolution of financing for agriculture show that there's some ground that is being lost in agriculture vis-a-vis other sectors, and it shows that apparently agriculture is not receiving the attention that it deserves. Of course, adaptation and mitigation need implementation pathways or means, and knowledge and technology transfer and capacity building. Yes, but basically, if there are no funds, then it's quite hard for developing countries to actually be able to work on this. And increasing the investment of agriculture in NDCs is complex. We know that. Emissions are mostly biogenic. It's very difficult to produce food with zero biogenic emissions. In turn, it's also very difficult to mitigate and at the same time increase food production and to maintain food security. We know that the livelihood of many millions of people in the world are in danger. And in this context, COP28 and the global stocktake send a message to the countries saying that all sectors and all spaces should be included in CNDC 3.0. As you showed appropriately in your slides, many countries included agriculture, but they've included it mostly from the adaptation perspective and less from the mitigation perspective. Now, increasing the investment for mitigation with very few means for implementation seems like a problem. So I would like to think about the problem on the lack of financing from two perspectives. One, that is the availability of funds from the different accounts in the convention, but also from thinking about how hard it is for countries to have access to that financing due to the way that these funds are operated and structured. This means that getting money for a climate reparation fund is a hard task to achieve and complete, and generally has no clear result, because this is not just a donation, but in most cases it's a loan, which for some countries this is impossible to take on. So to this comment, I would add this following question. In your opinion, in your personal opinion or as AO's opinion, how can we help developing countries to comply with the COP28's mandate and the global stocktakes mandate by incorporating agriculture in a clearer way and in a more successful way, but at the same time, how can we facilitate the resources to those countries so that the most ambitious goals can be achieved? So my first question would be then, I would ask you to reflect on the causes behind the fact that agriculture is not being invested on so much internationally. And the second question would be related to the fact that we acknowledge how important agriculture is. We know it's extremely climate dependent, but at the same time, in order to include adaptation in NDCs, you could think that it's important for countries to have national adaptation plans for their own agriculture. So how do you look, what do you think of the synergies between the development and the support to the development of national adaptation plans so that then inputs can be internalized? And the second part of this question is related to your vision on the global goal for adaptation. After a 2-year period after the Glasgow conference, what do you think of the outcomes achieved in these 2 years, and what do you think are the priority tasks from now on? How can we keep working on global governance for adaptation or global goals for adaptation? It's something that we need to clarify for our countries and for policymakers in our countries. So, well, these are some sort of my two concerns related to funding and how to generate that, how we can get towards these initiatives, compliance, and how this can be a leverage to assist in the process. And then, well, adaptation, mitigation, NDCs, and so on. Thank you so much, Marshall, for this webinar, and congratulations once again for your great presentation.
Muchas gracias, Walter, for the simple question. How long we have, Katya? Tell me. Because I can spend all my night here in Rome. Oh, you want in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes? So I will try to be concise. Okay. No, but all the questions you put forward, Walter, are all the questions basically most people concerned with agriculture are asking themselves. I don't have magic solution. I have my personal opinion on trying to element where we should all together work. First, we have to change the narrative. Agriculture is seen as a little ugly duck in the room, and it has to be changed. Agriculture is a solution. Agriculture is positive. Agriculture is feeding the world. And this is on that solution part that we have to work, because it's so easy to say negative things. All is not perfect, but there is a lot that agriculture can offer, and this is this that we should put forward. Because if the investment, for instance, you see they are decreasing, it means the other sector are attracting more than agriculture. Why is they attracting more? Because they build their narrative. And energy is not cleaner than agriculture, but they're attracting more resources because they have perhaps better metrics, better narrative. So this is something we have to work all together. So we need first advocacy targeting also policymaker. And this relates to the question on the NDC. We should all say to our own government, put agriculture in the NDC. And if they respond, it's complex, we should respond, yes, it's complex, but you have no choice. IPCC is clear, GST is clear. We cannot put one sector apart. If we are doing that, we will fail. And then it will be worse. It will be the sector neglected. And then in 10 years, it will be the sector suffering even more. So we have to put NDC, agriculture in NDC. Then I understand government will say, yeah, I cannot do that domestically. But okay, so but be clear on your NDC, put agriculture saying domestically at home what I can do, but I need resources. And if you do not put even clear number of what you need, people will respond to you, okay, but you are not clear or clear enough on where you were requesting. And if you, then when you will have a donor that will look at two different policies, one with clear goal in terms of or identify needs in terms of adaptation plus an amount in front, they will go to that country, and they will not go to the country that say nothing basically. So if you want also to attract finance, so I know it's a competition, so we need to attract finance, but we have to also realize that public finance will never be enough. The number I showed to you, it's MDBs plus bilateral flow, 100 billion. Okay, even if we have 100% for agriculture, it's just 100 billion divided by 150 countries, more than that. So it's less than 1 billion per country per year. And if you look exactly, most it's loan. So it's not even grant. So basically, you have to repay back. So we need to build that narrative to put this in the policies, and then private investment, private sector. And private bank, private sector will never invest in a sector that is still just seen as too risky or too controversial. If it's a reputational risk for a bank, I would say, oh, should I invest? I will take the example of your country, livestock. It's 85% of the emission, if I am not wrong. And you have a lot to do, or not on term the solution you can implement for mitigation can bring also benefits in terms of adaptation. So this is a narrative showing that, okay, we are supporting farmers to adapt to their system. If we have a good MRV system, monitoring, reporting, validating system, it can help also in trading your product in the world, because you can monitor also disease on a lot of different aspects. Win-win. So basically, if you put this more in UNDC, you will attract, and if that narrative is becoming more and more positive, saying, okay, I'm working on solution. Then you will have more banks saying, okay, I see that it's an important point. There is a lot we can do. I will support. And if you just flag the risk they have in terms of investment, they will say, oh, no, I will not invest in that. So this is that aspect. So put in the NDC, even if it's conditional to an amount, put it, but put it clear and loud and put the amount you need. And then there was an adaptation on NAP. Yes, I fully agree. We have an instrument that we are underestimating, we are underusing. It's National Adaptation Plan. We have that instrument even before NDCs. We should work more on that. And I would perhaps expand. We should have alignment of different policies. So at a country level, I know it's complex, so we need to have interministerial, interdepartmental, it depends on the country, but discussion with people dealing with climate, with land, with water, with biodiversity, because tomorrow we will have countries are requested to do NBSAP, so National Biodiversity Strategy and Adaptation Plan. You imagine if you have an NBSAP that is contradictory or not going in the right direction or in the same direction as your NDC on a different direction as your NAP, it will be a country should also play, I guess, their role trying to align at national level all the different policies. And this is not up to the country to self-organize and to have the different stakeholders, not only the government, but all stakeholder consultation to look at the minimum linkage or common goal you can put in all those different policies. And here I'm not even mentioning the agriculture policies that are other policies. So alignment of the policies. So this is my vision. Policies, putting clearly on Lodi their need in their NDC or NAP or whatever. And then it's related to the last part of your question. What is missing? To attract finance, we need indicator. On the global goal on adaptation, I know there is no global metrics for adaptation because adaptation, per essence, is local, it's people. You adapt to a specific context. But we can still build a framework on that you can adapt, but you have to decide what we all should look at in terms of adaptation family of indicator that we can derive accordingly to our national circumstances, but we need to start to providing clear metrics. Even if the first metric might be not perfect, we have to start. If we are not starting, basically we'll never be able to address that complexity. So we know it's complex, but we have to start, perhaps slowly, small, for in terms of indicators, and then we will adapt, we will correct, and it is the same for the UNCCD. Land degradation, it's a very complex to have a land degradation neutrality target and to have some set of indicators that support. When they put further indicators, there was countries saying, yeah, or stakeholder, it's imperfect. But we have a start. And then we can start reflect on monitor. So this is what basically trying to respond. There is another element, and you will understand that one. We need a strong signal from the UNFCCC. UNFCCC, we have a track of negotiation on agriculture. It started as a Coronivia joint work on agriculture. Now this is a Sharm el-Sheikh joint work on action for agriculture and food security. It's 2 years now that negotiators are just bringing as a result to the rest of the world something that is completely contrary as what I'm saying is not a good and positive message. It's the message that, oh guys, it's too complex. No. If the only message you have to transmit to the world is too complex, there will be basically one day people will tell, okay, it's too complex, so we abandon that. The negotiator should find a way, and I know it's complex. I know the complexity of the different system we have in the world. But come on, we all have, in Cornivia at least, you negotiators have already identified some no regret option. So build on that. No one will never tell you the more soil organic matter we have in soil is bad. We know that. We can disagree the way to increase soil organic matter, but we know that. So can we please work on how to increase and how to monitor soil organic matter? And if tomorrow we're able to do that, even we know it might have a cost, but we can increase, decrease the cost, and then it can also attract to voluntary carbon Article 6.2. So it will really put the soil, for instance, in the forefront. And you have identified other animal health. We know that healthy animals are just positive. So should banning burning of residues. We know that when you have residues, when you burn residues, this is the worst you can do. It's air pollution. It's health aspect. We can disagree on what to do with those residues, but can we advance saying, okay, we have identified, we know that this part is not good. So how to do that? And then if you have clear messages, then you can request a financial mechanism. You can put forward a message that the world will take and say, okay, we have at least a political recognition of all countries of the world saying that this is some element we can start investing that have been already identified. So animal health, plant health, soil health. We can say this like that. Some people will say it's too imprecise, it's too blur. Yes, it is, but this is part of the advocacy building solution and positive solution. And the negotiator have an important role to play on that. So it's a plea here for the negotiator, if they listen to me, I hope so, that in June, please find a way to move the needle in the right direction. And if you just bring a big stop to the rest of the world will stop you. So so this is what we need. So no simple solution. If I would have a simple wonder, I guess we will not be here today. Okay, thank you. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias a Marcial.
Thank you so much, Marshall and Walter, for this debate. Before we wrap up, we do have some questions on the chat box. I will very quickly read them. This is 3 comments. So just in order to do just a final closure, right? The first one, I don't know if you want to see that. It says, great presentation, many thanks. Can you give your thoughts on how much resources we would need globally to accelerate the transition towards a more resilient food system? The second question, it says, greetings. In this context, it's necessary to accelerate. How do you visualize the time frame for the financing process, apart from loss and damages? And the third comment says,
every development plan, but thoughts and really make adaptation an easier response in agri-food system. Is there any advice you can give to technicians working on the field to make a change of thoughts in the people that works in agriculture? Esa sería.
Yeah, no.
Those would be the comments.
Thanks so much, and I will try to be brief. Obrigado, Chico, for the question. We know that we need trillions. This is basically, if you look at all the indices, only the number we have. But we don't have even the right amount we need, because countries are still too shy to put forward what they need. But we know that we need trillion. On finance, there are trillions flowing. If you look bonds, it's a trillion per year, of several trillion per year of bonds. But how many food sovereignty bonds we have, for instance, how many climate agriculture green bonds we have. But if you look of energy bonds, plenty. So basically, on all this is part of what I was saying, the narrative. So banks, on big banks or private banks will not invest if they have no clarity. So we need trillions. So another way to answer is never the GCF, never the GEF, never the adaptation fund, the loss and damage fund, never all those funds together will be enough. So it's simple. They can be activated to trigger, to attract, and to prove that the system is ready to be transformed, but we need to attract all the private part. And on the timing, so the second question, as soon as possible. Because basically, you see all the world on the direction we are going. We're not going the right direction. The goal of 1.5 basically soon will be out of scope if we out of reach if we are not implementing. So the finance process is always slow, but we need to really take action starting from now. So that's why we need to have those dialogue on policies starting now. The next round of NDC, it's now. So basically, this is that part of the cycle that is starting right now that has to be activated. So, and that's why also on the Sharm el-Sheikh joint work on agriculture, we have to have a green signal as soon as possible that can be also used by the other external to the UNFCCC process. On the mitigation, on adaptation, on the farmer, on people working in agriculture, I guess we should change the narrative, really. When we talk with people, we have ourselves to, and this is myself, what I'm trying to do in my day-to-day. I'm never opposing adaptation on mitigation. We should stop opposing. We should stop looking at one just lens. This is my slide, remember, with this silo. And if I can put it again, because this is really something I want to share here. Where it is, this one. It was this one, correct? This one, can you see it? So the silo, if I zoom on my silo, this is basically. So the narrative for the farmer is this. It's too noisy. He cannot understand. And we have really to work all together on saying, for instance, here I can see, okay, I have irrigation. Okay. If we need to work on irrigation because water is not becoming stable in terms of, so we have to implement irrigation system, we have to explain why. So why we're implementing that solution and what are the benefits it will bring in terms of resilient system. No, not even using adaptation, or it's resilient on economic return on the long term for the farmer. Because what farmers want, they just want to live from their job. So they need to have the stability. When they invest something, they want to have a return on the short, middle, and long term, and this to be stable. They don't want to change every 6 months to have a new solution to be implemented. So the narrative is really trying to stop to oppose mitigation on adaptation, on trying to find the narrative that we're working on an integrated solution that bring different benefits that, and we have the solutions, they have been proved. I know they're context specific, but for every single context, we have a solution that can maximize the synergies. And if we oppose too much, basically one day we will see also the limit of adaptation. So if we do not work on mitigation, basically, one day we will not be able to cope with adaptation. So we have really to work all together. So trying to be short. But Walter, you can disagree also.
Very clear, Marcel, and I fully agree with you, your point of view.
Thank you.
Bueno,
Okay. Thank you so much to all of you for this session. I would like to particularly thank our speaker and friend, Marshall Bernoux and FAO, for this time. It was a very interesting presentation, and I think that we really now have a new scope and approach on the global stock stake and the tools that we have nationally. I see colleagues from Guatemala, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Costa Rica, Paraguay, Ecuador, Bolivia, among others, and I deeply thank you for being here, for paying attention. I would also like to thank the Executive Secretariat of the Central American Council for Agriculture. We've organized this with them because we want to have more incidents in these processes and advocacy in these processes. This seminar was carried out with them. So thank you for your participation. We would also like to thank our advisor, Walter, for your comments, for always being ready to lend a hand and moving forward with this topic, with seizing the opportunities, as Marshall said, when it comes to negotiations. And we would also like to thank our internal ICA team, Ricardo, Maria Jose, Priscilla, our interpreters as well, Romina and Marta, who were part of this session. And without further ado, we will send you today's presentation and recording in English and in Spanish. And next week, on the 30th, there will be a damage and loss seminar available for you all. Thank you all for your presentation, this session, and we are keeping in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marcial. Muchas gracias.
Hasta luego. Hasta
Muito
bon.
obrigado. Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao, Katia. Ciao all.
Chao.
Gracias otra vez.